It's the end of the year. And when you hear this podcast, most likely you hopefully had some amazing festive days. However, we now have to talk about, are you able to relax? Because that's not only a question that reached out to me a couple of times by email, quite a number of times actually. We have to talk about that because we don't know how, I don't know how your year was. And it's the end of the year. How was your year? How do you deal with the end of the year? And I know most likely we'll know the answers I receive, and that's the answer I received quite a number of times. You're going to deal with everything that is still around, so all the tasks that have not been done, or you say, well, everything I actually wanted to do in my business or with my job, I will now do. Or you say, well, there's a couple of things that I have to do: regulatory compliance, expenses reports, etc., etc. So you just work your way through the end of the year. And that probably is not the best way to do. I mean, you can do that. And of course, we're now talking about how to relax and if you're able to relax. And focusing, of course, in this case on industries that have the most relaxing time right now. When you, for example, work either in winter skiing or when you work in an industry that's related to somehow end of the year celebrations, fireworks, or any kind of Christmas related industry, you probably have the most stressful time of the year. So you can apply what you hear right now in the time when you have the so-called non-busy season. So first, look at the people who work for you. And to make it unambiguously clear, the time to have excuses for not celebrating the end of the year is over. So celebrate successes, and I hope that you did. If you haven't, please do so right at the beginning of the year to celebrate what you achieved last year. And of course, you have the annual appraisal interviews. That, of course, is not sufficient. You should know that there are feedback talks, critique talks, quarterly, annual appraisal interviews. There is still pit stop feedback, and there should be monthly talks in certain industries. Quite a complex topic that we're not going to cover here today. However, these aspects need to be covered at the end of the year as well. And of course, you need to set goals. Goals are very important. However, to set them properly is even more important. So having goals like work to the best of your abilities, which I frequently still read in annual goal achievement reports or agreements, are not the ones you should do. Be a lot more specific, but that's a different topic. When it comes to relaxation, some people might now say, well, I just walk through the end of the year by just working. And of course you can do that. However, there was a brilliant speech at one of the largest fairs we had this year where someone said, burnout is the new price for the new heroes of work. And that is not what you should do. There is no praise and no glory in being the person that runs himself or herself, yourself down just by working. By the way, if you do not relax at all, you're only postponing any kind of sickness, disease, or absence due to not being able to work anymore. It is impossible to work through without having any kind of relaxation, obviously. And of course, it will have a massive impact on your life, on your business life, private life, career, anything. So what should you do now? And there are three aspects I like you to focus on. And of course, you can now say, well, I'm not going to tick all of these boxes, which is perfectly fine. You should, of course, think of at least ticking one box. So step number one is, are you able to properly slowing down? And slowing down means you really look at your calendar now, either if it's a printed one or the one you have in Outlook or any other software you use. Are there less appointments in there? Are you able to probably sleep longer? Are you able to have rhythm that is determined only by you rather than by other people who invite you for meetings? Are you properly able to slow down for the end of the year? Because if not now, most likely it will not get better from here because the beginning of next year is just at the doorstep. So that is step number one. Were you or are you able to properly slow down for quite a while right now? A week or most likely two. Second box, are you able to properly unwind? Because some people say, yeah, I'm now actually slowing down. I have my own rhythm. And your own rhythm means you just work with your rhythm and your task, but still for your employer or for your business. Are you able to properly unwind? Because the inability to unwind has multiple risks. It not only means that you're not going to be able to relax, it also has a psychological aspect to it. You have no relaxation, which has a massive impact on your body and your and of course on your mental health. But also, let's face it, you will not be able to go with that rhythm at the end of all days, because there will be a certain time where you either retire or you do less work, or simply someone else is now more in demand than you. Every one of us is replaceable. So when you say, my only thing I have in life is work, hear the news. Work will not at the end, and until the end of all days, will need you. So are you able to properly unwind? And if not, you now have to find a way how to do that. Think of hobbies, think of friends, think of things you normally did before you started to most likely work only. And there are many things. Meet friends, have a walk, hiking, whatever sports you do, anything you want to do with friends, family, your partner, whatever it might be. But being able to properly unwind is important. And the third aspect is, are you able to enjoy the segue, the transitioning from one year to the other? And of course, I know that some people might now claim, Niels, it's just another week. It's just another 1st of January, just another month. And technically and legally even, that is absolutely correct. However, for many people around you, it has a significant meaning. It has a meaning of closing things and leaving them behind and opening to new things in the future. And all of that is perfectly possible when you are able to properly enjoy the segue from one chapter to the other. When it's not relevant for you, perfect. However, you work in circumstances where it's important for many people, so you simply cannot ignore it. So look at what you do right now and think of, are you able to properly enjoy that? And if not, how can you change that to be able to enjoy it the sooner the better? And of course, there might now be people who say, Niels, I'm not ticking all of these three boxes. And that's not the point. You don't have to tick all the three boxes. When you say, well, I'm probably ticking 2 out of 3, good. When you tick 1 out of 3, that's a starting point. Develop from there. However, when you now say, look, slowing down is not possible because, and then you will list a number of reasons why there are tasks left only you can do. And unwinding is not possible due to what you said before, because only you can do that. You cannot unwind. And due to 1 and 2, you're unable to slow down, you're unable to unwind, all to task and work and whatnot. You are not able to enjoy the segue from one way to the other. And then you step back on technicalities, telling everyone around you, it's just nonsense, just another 1st of January. If that is what you have right now, you have quite some topics to talk about. Because it is just a matter of time until this construct collapses. Work-life balance comes from having a good balance between life and work. And that has been the right way to do that for decades, for centuries, for thousands of years. You have certain tasks to do, you have a bit of work, but also you have a private life to enjoy. You do not only have one, because none of the two are mutually exclusive. So when you, for example, say, I only have work and I'm a typical work and career person, there will be a moment in time where simply your work says, thank you very much for your service. However, other people will now do your job, because every one of us is replaceable. If you have no work, you probably miss out on a lot of contact, a lot of structure in your entire day. You will often have days being bored, not knowing what to do, and also due to a lack of money, most likely, you won't be able to do much. And that's why you need to check on exactly that balance. And the perfect time to do so is now. You probably had, or hopefully had, some nice days off at the end of the year due to public holidays. At least in most industries, this is the more calm season. And now you're able to think of, what will you do in the future? What will you do to make this balance be better? I can only tell you, it is now your choice to make the best pick, to make the best decision, to choose the best system for the next year. And that's exactly what I wish you to do. Make great choices to have a great life. So this episode is a bit shorter than usual because we are going to enjoy the end of the year, and so will I. And that's why this episode is a bit shorter, and I wish you all the best for the end of this year. And I have to say thank you for what we achieved this year. This podcast achieved way more rankings around the globe than I have ever imagined. And I can only say thank you to absolutely anyone who always listens to this podcast every single week and stays in contact with me. Absolutely amazing. This went above and beyond anything I could have ever imagined. Thank you very much for your support. I'm going to see you again next year. Have a great end of the year time, and then see you again next year. And if you now say, hey, I got some topics for next year, that's exactly the right time to tell me about it. So when you now say, for example, either you have questions about what you just told me, what I just told you, or you say, I have a couple of points that are not clear, or I didn't really get what you mean, or maybe you think I gave the wrong explanation, feel free to criticize me as well. Send me an email, nb@nb-networks.com. I'm going to put the email address together with my LinkedIn as well in the show notes of this podcast. Feel free to contact and connect with me on LinkedIn properly as well. The second aspect that I always recommend is because we have live sessions and people often ask, where are these live sessions? Well, when you go to expert.nb-networks.com, then you can register for the leadership letter. It's only one email every Wednesday morning. It's 100% content at free guarantee. And you receive free access to all the articles and podcasts I published. And also you see when the next live session will be. And for all our listeners and readers, it is, of course, free of charge. We do at least 12 live sessions per year, available in English and German. Looking forward to seeing you there. And the third aspect is the most important one. Oh, by the way, when you send me an email, you have something very specific. For example, you need training, workshops, coaching, speaking. Feel free to contact me about that as well, as people frequently do. Thank you very much for doing so, by the way. But also feel free to just ask your questions or talk about anything you like, or just give me an idea and say, hey, Niels, could you talk about that topic next year? I am very happy to listen to any of these and try to bring in as many topics as I can. The main and core reason for topics popping up on my podcast are the emails I receive. So, or the LinkedIn message or wherever you reach out. So feel free to do so. At the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply, you will see the positive changes that you obviously want to see in your organization or probably in your life. I am going to see you and hear you again next year. Have a great time at the end of this year and an amazing start to the next year. And at the end of this year, you know what's coming now, don't you? At the end of this year, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.